friends, and welcome back. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about something that I think you guys are going to find exceptionally helpful. At least it was for me. When I finally cracked the code on this, everything changed. What am I talking about? Today, I'm talking about the I am principle. And I don't know if you've heard anything about that. If you are a spiritual person or a seeker, you've probably come across that a time or two. But I'm going to see if I can kind of break it down for you guys a little bit better. So I always say that I'm a person, as a life coach, I try to blend the practical and the spiritual so that people can create a life that they love. There are some principles out there, some information out there that people just don't have access to. Well, let me back that up. They have access to it, but A, they don't know that the information is out there, or B, they don't believe it, or C, they just don't understand it. And so I'm here to try to see if I can help people with all three of those areas. So, by the I am principle, what that means is that if you want to change your life, if you want things to be different, if you want a new experience, if you want to show up in the world completely differently, you have to change, right? And so the subconscious mind is a part of the brain, we'll call it. There's probably a better way of saying that, but just for the sake of this particular point right here, we're going to say it's a part of the brain. And it can be extremely hard to change. Your subconscious mind is conditioned by everything that's been happening to you over your entire life. And so just to wake up one morning and say, well, I'm no longer going to be a person that has a problem with anger, or I'm no longer going to be a person that runs late all the time, or I'm no longer going to be broke, or just all the different kinds of things that just happen to regular everyday human beings, things that we pick up along the way, along the trail. It is very difficult to just wake up and say, I'm just not going to do that anymore. Now, if you have enough will, you can actually change your entire personality. It's going to take some time, though, for most people. And so there's some tricks, there's some tools out there that you can use that will help you with this, with the process of change. And so one of those is the I am principle. And so I'm here today to kind of talk about that. So the I am principle means that if you want change, you're going to begin to state you are that which you want. So if you want to be wealthy, the I am principle says state to yourself over and over that I am wealthy. If you want, I don't know, a relationship, then you want to state over and over that I am in a healthy and satisfying relationship, right? And so I did this and I see other people doing this and they're kind of getting mixed results or no results at all. If you're saying things like, I want to be wealthy, or I want to have a partner, or my bank account is full, you're not going to be as effective if you don't state it in the form of I am. And so let me talk about why that is. In order for us to even get to that piece, you're gonna have to be a person that understands consciousness or believes in consciousness. You don't really have to understand it, but you're gonna have to believe that there's something bigger that's going on here, that it's not just about us flesh, blood, bone, every day running into trouble, pissing people off, You know, in order to fully understand this principle, you're gonna have to have a little bit of a grasp of some kind of belief that there's something much larger going on here, and that in that larger thing that we're just going to refer to as consciousness, there are components that we don't fully understand. That's the foundation under a lot of this stuff, right? There is a consciousness, and we are a part of that consciousness. And so what's also is a part of that consciousness are entities and beings. I did another talk when I said most people are familiar with the concept of angels, and people readily accept that portrayal of, I guess, life in the beyond. And so we can just stick with that. If you want to call them angels, that's fine. I call them entities, beings. The bottom line is there are things, principles that are in existence, and they are beyond our day-to-day cognition. But just because we don't see them or understand them doesn't mean that they aren't there. And so I think it's necessary to really understand this. You have to have a little bit of a belief or understanding or an interest of wanting to know more about higher consciousness. And a part of that consciousness is something that we call the quantum field. Now, science is starting to catch up, and they are actually validating that there is a quantum field. And again, consciousness is such that its full understanding, its full realization is beyond our sensory perception. It's not something that we see, it's not something that we taste. We can feel it on occasion, if you want to look at it in terms of that, but it's not really a part of our 3D existence. And so the science is just now starting to catch up and validate, hey, we don't know exactly what this is, but we know there is something, and they're referring to that as the quantum field. Now, the quantum field exists as pure potentiality. And what that means is that whatever you impress on the quantum field, you can manifest it. And so our job, and the thing that we struggle with as human beings, is trying to figure out how to make the impression on the quantum field to get what we want. Okay? So you're with me. We're a part of consciousness, and consciousness contains this thing called the quantum field. Okay. So let's shift a little bit now, and we're going to talk a little bit about psychology. And I hope I'm going to be able to weave this thread all the way through. In order to work this principle, you don't really have to have an understanding of all this other stuff that I'm talking about. But I know for me, I didn't really fully get it, and I couldn't really fully master it until I understood the other pieces of it. So let's go to psychology. Psychology tells us that there is a particular part of the brain called the reticular activating system. You'll see it referred to as the RAS or the RAS. And the role of the reticular activating system in the brain is that it is a filter of information. And so when you think about it, our bodies, who we are, is just completely miraculous. And we are taking in information all day long, every second of every day. Even though we aren't conscious of it, there's information all around us, right? I'm sitting in my home, just outside of my door here. There is a tree. There's birds in the tree. There's bugs all around. There's so much going on around me now. The brain filters out what is not needed. And it's a beautiful process, because we would just be bombarded with everything, smells, scents, sounds, on a continual basis if it wasn't for the reticular activating system. And so what it does is it kind of screens out that information. If I stop for a second, I can smell a little something, but I have to focus on it, because the reticular activating system, it knows that it's not important to me, and that is key. We actually have the power to train it so that it knows what is important to us. And so here's an example of the reticular activating system at work. Let's say you are getting ready to buy a new car and let's say you're just driving past a car lot and you pull in and they have just some car that you're interested in. Let's say the car is lime green. And you're interested in that car. And so you look at it, you get really excited about the car, and you're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna come back and buy that. And so as soon as you drive off the lot, you start seeing lime green cars. Now, that's not a real popular color, but there are lime green cars driving on the road. What happens is, once the reticular activating system gets a little bit of an inkling that that's important to you, it's going to say, hey, look over there, and look over there, and look over there. There's a lime green car. That is the job of the reticular activating system. The cars would have been there, but without you going on the car lot and seeing something and getting excited about it, you would have never noticed it. They would have just kind of driven on by you. So its job is to filter information. Okay, so we're part of consciousness. We've got this reticular activating system that is filtering information. Let's get to the I am principle. So, okay, I'm going to try to see if I can explain this in as basic a way as I can. When you repeat the I am principle, and this is also key, you must do it with feeling, right? So you can't just say, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. But if you say, man, oh man, I am so happy that I am rich, and you feel that sensation throughout your body, not only are you going to trigger the law of attraction because your vibration just raised. That's a whole nother talk, but all these things are kind of interplaying off one another. When you get that level of emotion up, not only did your vibration raise, but now your reticular activating system is paying attention and is saying, wait a minute. There's a lot of emotion here. This is what Tanya wants. And so this is where the quantum field comes in. That's why I said you got to kind of believe that there's something bigger going on here. You're making an impression on the quantum field. At that moment, things are going to start shifting and moving and coming into your experience so that I am statement can become true for you. I hope this is making sense. So, you want to use the I am principle. You want to state with clarity what you want, and you want to feel as much emotion as you can feel around that thing. You want to get excited about it, right? If you knew that you were about to find the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams, wouldn't you be excited about it? So get excited now, right? Feel it down in your bones. Get elevated about it. Get excited about it. Because when you do that, you alert the reticular activating system in your brain that this is what is important to you. And what is important to you is going to start sending you more of that, right? And at the same time that is happening, an impression is being made on the quantum field. And when you impress something on the quantum field long enough, it's going to manifest for you. Now, that can also work negatively. Fear is the opposite side of this principle. You can say, you know what? I've seen people just walk around like, I am always having bad luck. God, I'm always having bad luck. Like if they get a ticket, oh my God, I'm always having bad luck. That anger, it's the same principle, but that's working against you. You don't want to do that. So you want to be as numb as you can to things like that. But on the positive side, and again, that statement of the I am, there's something about that I am, that acceptance of something as fact that does something to all this consciousness, all these principles and entities in the quantum field. There's something about, to the brain, there's something about stating something as fact that moves it into your experience. So let me do a little bit of recap. We exist as part of consciousness, something larger. And a part of consciousness is this quantum field. If we make an impression on the quantum field, we can manifest things in our life. The I am principle works by getting the reticular activating system of your brain to accept that you are the new thing, that you are whatever proclamation you have made, that I am that thing, right? When you get the emotion up around that, the reticular activating system now starts to reprogram the subconscious mind and reach out to the quantum field and touch it. And so when that process is happening, if you keep your vibration high, if you remain faithful, if you remain joyous, if you remain excited, you're just going to find through magic, for lack of a better word. It's not magic, it's very scientific principle. They haven't figured all of it out yet. But for lack of a better word, we just going to say it's magic. That thing is going to start to show up in your experience. And so that is how this principle works. Now, to work it, you ain't really got to know all that. All you really got to know is I'm a part of something larger. And if I state something as fact, and if I believe it enough to get excited about it, and I stick with that long enough, then heaven and earth is going to move to bring it to me. And that's basically what I just said with all those other concepts and principles that you kind of really don't need, but it's good to understand. I love talking about the spiritual path. I want everybody to understand that they're part of consciousness and that there's something much bigger going on. And I know for me, because I tend to be a person that I'm a skeptic, for lack of a better word. And so I need the other things before I will accept them as fact, which I know that's a little bit contradictory because I am a mystic and I kind of believe in things that you can't see and that you can't feel and that you can't taste. But at the same time, I'm also someone that has to have something make sense before I'm going to accept it as truth or fact, right? You have to suspend a little bit of your requirement that things be very concrete to walk the spiritual path, but you don't have to suspend your requirement that things make sense. And that is how I show up in the world. And so once I started to see this principle working, everything changed for me. So it was as simple as this. I started making the statements that I am whatever I wanted. And the very next day, things started showing up for me. Gratitude helps. I was a person that, or I am a person, whenever I see it, I know the beings, the angels, the guides, whatever you want to call the entities, the principles, whatever. I know that they are working on my behalf and they are showing up for me. I'm getting a little emotional. I apologize. I just get so excited about this. I'm like, y'all, if y'all get this, Your whole life is going to be different. Everything we want is on the spiritual path. And so we're working so hard and we're expending so much energy. Everything you want is on the spiritual path. Gratitude really helps usher in this process. I'm looking every day. Something's coming to me, an email, the very thing that aligns with the I am statements that I have been making. And I'm like, would you look at that? In fact, even today, I woke up. Now, my I am statements look like I'm a healer, I'm a teacher, right? I woke up this morning and I said, I think I'm going to do a talk about the I am principle. And I just started going on with my day, right? I log into Facebook and there is a book that I'm going to recommend. There's actually 2 books that I'm going to recommend at the end of this talk. When I logged into Facebook, a post popped up from this very author that I'm getting ready to recommend to you. I don't even think I follow that guy, but what are the odds of that? It's not a very popular book. It's not a book that you see everywhere. I can almost guarantee that the majority of people that are going to watch this talk had never heard of this person. If you're into really spiritual things, you might be, but what I'm trying to say is this is not like Michelle Obama or someone like that, right? Most people don't even know who this guy is. Soon as I logged into my Facebook account, it popped up. And so this is what it looks like. It can be subtle, but if you train yourself, if you're paying attention, you're not going to be able to deny it. So that is the I am principle. And the book that I'm going to recommend, actually there's 2 authors and I'm going to recommend that talk about this stuff from they follow a spiritual path, but it's more of a scientific perspective if you need that. And that is Gregg Braden and Bruce Lipton. And Bruce Lipton's book is called The Biology of Belief, if I'm not mistaken. If you need a little bit more about the quantum field and consciousness and all of that, those authors are good. I've read a couple of their books when I first cut my teeth on this kind of stuff like 20 years ago. So I hope they're still in circulation. But they have some interesting concepts that I think you'll really enjoy. So that is my talk on the I am principle. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for following the spiritual path and using it to change your life. I have so much more in store for you.